Hello everyone and welcome to Outside. The series, of course, we're going outside zombies maps such as Attack of the Radioactive Thing, which we have on our plate today.
You'll enjoy this role game. All you need to do is look pretty for the camera and soak the screen with gobs of your blood and flesh.
This map is from Infinite Warfare Zombies, which is something I have not played very much of at all. In fact, before the series Outside, all I've ever played was Zombies in Spaceland, so I've never played this map. Well, that is until I started preparing for this video, of course. But as always, I got a modded client, so it allows me to do things such as turn on God mode as well as no clip, and we can see this map from a very different perspective. Which, right off the start, things are a little bit black and white, so let's just change that real quick. And I'm pretty sure the trigger to do so is just opening this door right here.
Graphics are fun and all, but cinema color is so much more fun.
Yeah, that's much better. Starting off in spawn here, as always, it's a little bit of a different situation, considering all of the windows lead to the same place. This big old open area where all the cars are parked, waiting to watch their drive-in movie. And I mean, the cars are relatively well modeled, and some of them even have like little tray tables here, which are just bolted onto the side of the door. That doesn't seem great. But hey, we got a hot dog, hamburger, and some soda. Classic. And as far as the cars go, there is one that sort of stands out, and that's this one right here, as it's the only one that has any sort of decal on it. It's not just a solid color like the rest of them. I'm not exactly sure why that would be, but there is actually an engine in the engine bay as well, which is super cool to see. And looking at this engine bay with Fulbright on gives you an insane perspective of how much detail these devs put into these cars. Because I really don't think you would ever notice that. I don't know why it's there. Perhaps it's used somewhere else in the game, but each one of these cars has an engine. Although this one is not exactly well modeled. But hey, look inside this truck. Rustic. Hopping on out of spawn the other direction this time, we have this area to check out, which is pretty much a lot of the same. It does have that one decaled car up here as well, and some bathrooms at the back, which we can walk into and get some very liminal effects back here. It definitely is a really cool place to walk around though, and it immediately gives me the vibe of Carnival from Modern Warfare 2. Which, maybe that's just me, but something about the era and all of these ads, it just feels a lot like that map. But as far as modeling back here, we got some red tables with some popcorn and hot dogs and all of the sort, as well as a staircase leading up to this little room, which is a really strange, unmodeled room, at least from this perspective. But I suppose from this perspective, it adds some ambiance to this little food shack, snack shack, if you will. And it's kind of cool to be able to walk up here, although there is absolutely nothing here. We'll get to the rest of that snack shack in a bit when we get there. However, there's something else I want to talk about, and that's this. So I'm not entirely sure why the developers did this. I mean, I think I know the reason. The reason is they want it to be somewhat dark in here. And I'm guessing that this material is somewhat translucent. So my best guess is this shield here that they're creating around the entire outside of it is to sort of block the light from this direction. So that when you're in here, it feels a bit dark and all of the light is pouring in from these windows instead. But it's kind of cool to see it in action, and you only see it pop up when you get close enough and the game thinks you're actually within that space. It's a very smooth, matte black texture. And extremely shiny, if I might add. But unfortunately, due to the nature of spawn here, that's pretty much the entire thing. I mean, we're looking at it right now. But before we continue on to the rest of the map, let's go under it real quick and take a look at some stuff happening on down here. So first of all, we have the skybox, and I suppose this is like more like the underground box, and there's a seagull. Look at that. But yeah, I don't know where this picture was taken. Obviously along a beach somewhere with a little bit of a pier, or I guess a boat launch area. But it's really cool to see that this is most certainly a real picture. A panoramic view, although part of it's kind of cut off. It looks really strange over there. I think what they did, although I could be wrong, is they sort of took the image of the water and extended it and started brushing away all of the sand and what I imagine is probably buildings as well. And what's left behind is a slight portion of the beach, a whole bunch of water, and underneath the map, the boat launch. And in the distance over here, we have a few interesting things to check out. So for one, we have the Ghost and Skulls Easter egg, which, as we've seen before in other maps, has this Shadow Man looking character looking at us through a arcade machine screen. And the background, of course, has changed a bit to match this map's background where the arcade machine is found, which, if you take a look at this image, you could probably take a good guess. But it's right here in this ice cream shop, and actually the picture matches it pretty well, with a door on the right and a cash register behind it, and another door on the left leading to the outside. And it does sort of look like that is the situation here, although it's not exact. In fact, the door on one side is just copied and pasted to the other one. Now, as I've said, I have barely played iWZombies and have definitely never done a Ghosts and Skulls Easter egg, but this one is a little bit different than the others that we've seen so far. There's some extra platforms chilling out here, and I imagine that there's some sort of like pop-up situation with them, and I don't know, maybe you got a parkour? I have absolutely no idea. If you guys have done this, please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. But it's cool to see that they're all here. I'm not entirely sure if this is where their permanent location is, or if this is just where they're being stored right now. And on the other side, we have the red grid to match. But on this map, there are a few more things outside the map that we haven't seen before, but we'll get to those in just a minute. First, we also have the theater, which, as far as I can tell, is exactly the same as normal. There's nothing really changing here between maps, which is sort of unfortunate, if I'm to be honest. I feel like that would have been really cool if they made, like, slight changes to the theater as the story progressed that were, you know, sort of lore-based, but it doesn't seem like that's happening here. But of course, next to this good old Pack-a-Punch room up here is the Afterlife Arcade. So pretty much the same deal as normal, and again, this looks exactly the same. I'm pretty sure this hasn't changed between maps whatsoever, although I guess maybe some of the poster boards did. Now, all of this we've seen already in other maps, but what this map has that's different from the others is this. A nuclear bomb, just chilling inside of a pit of acid, or radioactive goo, I suppose? Now, I've never done the Easter egg, but I could take a guess what's going on here. You most likely teleport to here through the black box that's right next to it. You see some darkness right before being moved to a position sort of like this above the nuclear bomb. And I'm guessing you, like, grab it or something, or maybe put a hook to it because there is a spot for that. I'm not entirely sure, but it's cool to see, and it says boom on it. Underneath this green goo, we can see that the model is completely full. It's not cut off or anything like that, which I suppose would make a lot of sense considering it's also right here inside the map. We'll get to that in a bit though. But definitely a cool little thing to see, just hiding underneath the map, right beneath the road here actually. And last but not least, way over here is the master spawner, where all the zombies spawn underneath the map and await their time to be assigned to an area to go to. They spawn here first before being placed behind a window location, and as you can see, when you're not inside the map, they sort of just spawn in and instantly die. And in case you're wondering, the final thing underneath the map here that I haven't looked at yet is the teleporter box. Oh yeah, take me back inside the map. Oh, man, that was wild. I think for getting out of spawn here, we're just going to go this way, hop on through the tunnel, and make our way to that snack shack we saw at the beginning of the video. And, I'm a little hungry, so we're just going to hop on in here and take a look. There is a lot of different food types just chilling around. We got some sweet and tangy candies. Fat-free. Nice. And what seems really strange about this, although I suppose it kind of makes sense, is all of the modeling is facing outwards. So when you come inside here, it's like everything is just looking away from you. But other than this main snack room, we do have one little offshoot room over here with a desk, a phone, and a fan. But I suppose it does add some really interesting ambiance, as you can definitely see it from outside. I will say, though, the rest of this area, there's really not much to check out. There's these buses, but there's nothing inside of them. And there's this little shack, but there's not a lot to see here either. The rest of this area, of course, we've already checked out, being that it's the spawn. Although, isn't that the next map? Did people know that at the time? I wonder if people knew that at the time. So I suppose it's time. Let's hop on past the next door here and make our way into this little nature preserve. There is a tiny little shack here, which we can hop inside of, although there's not a ton going on. It's a little tool shed, it looks like. But we do have some pretty cool landscape outside the map, although the collision cuts off pretty quickly. But moving on past this area, let's get to something a little bit more interesting, and I suppose that's this TV station. KZMB TV, to be precise. You're supposed to enter through the side door here, but this is outside, so why would we do that? Let's go right through the front door. And, I mean, it feels like you're supposed to be able to do this as well, not gonna lie. In fact, so much so that it could have been the original plan, in fact. And maybe they just decided, well, we don't need all these doors open, and it would function a little bit better if we just put a chair here. I suppose you can see most of it from inside the map very well, so I guess that's why. But it's just really cool to see from that perspective, in my opinion. Ooh, and there's some writings here. The Universe, Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. Volume 4. Wow. But other than some strange modeling and a staircase, unfortunately, that does not have collision, we do have one of the shootable parts to the Ghost and Skull Easter egg right here, just laying down on the ground with some red eyes, which do actually seem to be indented from the rest of its face. That's kind of cool. In fact, when you get inside of it, you can see that it's sort of made up of little pixels in a way. And it's gone. But it is inside of a little window location where zombies spawn here around the corner, although there's really nothing to see here. And in fact, it doesn't really make a lot of sense where this would be heading anyway. But cool to see nonetheless, and I suppose that makes it time to hop on in and talk to a lady.
Well, hello to the hottest hot rod in town.
Ooh, hello yourself there, handsome.
And there is Elvira, which behind the lady is some pretty interesting modeling going on. Whole lot of ancient looking books and some candles. I suppose this is the set of some sort of TV show, considering, you know, what's going on here. Reminds me of like some kind of like vampire thing or something. I don't know. But behind her, we can indeed walk back here. There is a little bit of a space, and you can actually see where the set cuts off. The door back here leads straight to the back wall of the studio, which on the other side of that is a little bit of liminal space before leading out to open air. And coming back in from a different angle, it looks insane, actually. Very mystical. Now, there is a couple little dressing rooms here, one with some gin, actually. I mean, everyone needs a pick-me-up, right? And we got another one here as well, although this one doesn't seem to have any interesting modeling. And at the very back, there is a window with a whole lot of blood in it, as well as, you know, toilets. It's a bathroom. And around the corner, pretty much nothing at all, just a little area for zombies to spawn and come out at you. Something about the layout of this bathroom, though, is just really off-putting. Like, it just doesn't, it doesn't make sense to my brain. Walking in through a door and immediately being met by a toilet, and then the sink being further away from the door than the toilet. And then the urinal being in the corner, looking at a wall. And just to show the commitment that these devs had to modeling interiors of things, this is the compressor inside of a fridge. This fridge, to be precise. Which I don't know why you would ever model that. There's just absolutely no reason to. Maybe there's somewhere in this map or another map where you could see the bottom of the fridge and get a peek inside, but just absolutely insane, and I thought it was kind of cool. Now, although there is some pretty cool modeling here, if we look up, we see what is probably the coolest part about this building. A little hidden room that we can enter in and unfortunately can't stand in. Yeah, not sure why, but there's definitely no collision there. But I suppose we can float in it and get a good look at this area. The modeling is a little bit jank, but I guess you would never really notice things like a chair clipping through the desk from down below, considering I don't know if you could even see that chair from down below. But nonetheless, it's really cool to be able to see this. And the little Easter egg thing here on the wall, which it looks like some mathematics was needed to be able to solve the Easter egg here, I'm guessing. It seems like one equation of perhaps a system of equations that we'll find throughout the map, so we'll keep an eye out for some more. And just because we can, here's a quick look at the rafters before we exit the building, because I don't think there's anything else to see here. Huh. So this wall has some thickness, right? And on one side there's a red door, and on the exterior there's that same red door. But because of the wall thickness, it seems the developers quite literally just put another copy of that door right on the other side. And I guess decided to not account for the fact that it doesn't really make any sense at all. But I imagine while playing the game, that's probably not something you really think about, is it? And last but not least, let's go ahead and hop up on the roof. Oh, okay. No collision with the roof, I guess. Surely there's like some collision with the roof, right? Okay, here we go. So we can walk here, but immediately when we walk over to this section of the building, we just fall right through. I'm not sure why that is, like why some things have collision and other things don't. It's something that's always sort of puzzled me, to be honest. A lot of people will say, well, it's because of bullets, right? Well, that's not true, because if I come on over here, right, to this area that you just fall right through, and I shoot it, my bullets definitely don't go through. Neither do grenades. But of course, I do. I fall right through. So there is two types of collision in Call of Duty, one for the player and the other for bullets and grenades and things like that. And obviously zombies have different colliders as well. But I just find it strange why part of this building you just fall right through, while the other part of the building you can easily just walk on top of. Can we stand on the tower? No. That's unfortunate. Alright, let's get away from this TV station and move on towards the motel. But I suppose before we do, we'll just walk down this road and appreciate the fact that this leads right on back to the other part of the map. And it's another one of those things that I sort of don't understand as to why this is the case. That being why you can't walk through here, but you can't. Unless there's some sort of little Easter egg you have to do to open this, which would be really cool if that was the case. Because it would allow you to cut off having to go through this entire section of the map just to get towards the motel in this area. But unfortunately, at least in its current state, it's completely closed off. But anyways, heading on into the motel, immediately we're met with the reception desk, which has an extremely creepy picture of Wheeler Wyler on the wall. But it does have a door as well, and if we go inside of it, we find a little hidden room. Although this room does not have a floor, it does have a ceiling with a fan on it. And I suppose the reason why is because of these little windows here. Although, actually, you definitely can't see through those. So perhaps it was a last-minute decision that they decided to not model this room. Oh, well, I guess that symbol means 5. So theta times 5. I guess we've got to find out what theta is now. But other than reception, of course, we have the rest of the motel to check out, which I think the best way to do this is to just hop inside of it right away, and we can immediately see the rooms that actually have rooms. Most of them seem to be pretty much identical to each other. They have a little back room like this, which I imagine is where this mattress is supposed to be, and a little front room with a TV and a couch. I'm imagining zombies just spawn here around the corner and come on out the window. But there is one of these rooms that's a little bit different from the rest. Normally, right around the corner, of course, is the couch, but since you'd never see that, it seems to have been deleted. And of course, the window location is just not here at all. In fact, there's not even a door, really, on the other side, is there? The mattress has been moved to the other side, but funny enough, it is leaning up against the wall, just like it was in the other rooms. And, of course, we lead out to a balcony. And I think this is the only room that actually has an open balcony door. Because when you go out here, for instance, I mean, you can stand on the balcony, but yeah, definitely opaque. I do find this area quite cool, though. I'm not gonna lie. I like it a lot. The ambiance of a rundown motel and shooting zombies around a pool is pretty awesome. And it's also pretty cool to be able to no-clip inside this motel and walk around in this liminal space. But as always, let's go ahead, hop up on top of the roof, and I'm immediately met with some barriers. Okay, I am stuck. I am very stuck right now. So it seems like the barrier on top of the roof is actually quite high, which, again, I don't know how you'd be able to glitch up here, but I guess they just didn't want to worry about it. And lastly, over here in the trash can, there's a target, which doesn't seem to do anything if you shoot it, unfortunately. I feel like this would be like the most obvious thing to be a shootable Easter egg, considering it quite literally is a paper target to shoot at. But no, definitely not. But last but not least, let's go ahead and hop on outside the map and down the street, because there's a lot of space here. Which I always find it really cool to walk through areas like this, because it feels super expansive. And it's also kind of cool to see details like the game thinking that I'm inside of that radiation still, because I'm outside the map. But unfortunately, the collision doesn't last for long, and you pretty quickly fall through the map. But I suppose we can continue up further ourselves and find another bus here that's not in service. And up around the corner, the road leads off into the distance. Towards that seagull, actually. Wow. I suppose it's also pretty cool to note that there is a side little road here that connects and goes and wraps towards the TV station. Which, although it's definitely not necessary, the continuity here is quite nice. Oh, I didn't notice this in my playthrough, but this Sonova beach sign The population 2,000 went to 0, it looks like. A swell place to visit, I guess. Also, there's the Infinity Ward logo. Nice. But passing on into the campground now, we got a few things to check out in here, I believe. First of all, this road does continue outside the map here. It sort of wraps around the entire campground, which kind of makes sense. I guess the cars are meant to come through this direction. While in game, you have this little path here to walk through, leading directly towards some of the RVs here. And most of them do not have any sort of interior. In fact, there's really only 2 that do. One that's extremely easily accessible, as the doors are just open for you, and another one which I imagine is opened by an Easter egg step, considering inside of it there is a head, and you do seem to have to pick this up.
Looks like somebody got a bit ahead of themselves over here, Daddy-o.
Oh, and there's theta. I guess it equals 9, so 9 times 5. And on the desk here in the back is a tiny little picture, which if you look close, that is definitely Rave in the Redwoods. You can see the kayaks all stacked up, and I think this is towards the beach, although it's really hard to tell. Oh, that's much better. Okay, yeah, definitely the beach. There's a whole bunch of books here on the shelves above, and inside of this little cabinet, there's some sort of weird device, which looks a lot like QEDs or something from Black Ops. I'm not entirely sure what these are because I haven't played a lot of IW Zombies, but I imagine it's somewhere in this game. I just don't exactly know where. And lastly for this area, we have the restrooms to check out, which as always in every single Zombies map, the one that you can go in is the men's room, while the woman's room is completely off limits. I mean, as far as this men's room, it's not super interesting. The stalls that you can't go into are modeled just as you would think they are. Nothing really changes between any of these. But if you do hop on outside the map and go inside the woman's room, you'll find that it has been overtaken by a whole lot of sand. Seems that somebody left the door open and a big old breeze has ruined this bathroom quite a bit. I mean, not to mention the fact that there's just no toilets here either. That's also kind of strange. All that's here is a couple of sinks, which I suppose, modeling-wise, it sort of makes sense. That's really all you can see. Still, though, I really love liminal spaces like this. I think this is awesome. And hopping on out the other side leads us around back, behind the mystery box. And funny enough, there is actually a decent bit of collision out here, although there's places like that you just fall right through. But I believe that is it for the campground section of the map, and in fact, that's it for this entire half of the map over here. So I suppose, let's take a sip of coffee. Because of course, I have my coffee with me here this morning, and I hope wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this, you're enjoying yourself, because I absolutely love this. IW Zombies continues to impress me because the layout of this map, and although we've only seen half of it so far, is pretty awesome. It's essentially one giant circle with a few crossovers. However, the modeling and the feel of being somewhere in California, I'm not entirely sure why, but I absolutely love it. Something about it feels very different than any Treyarch Zombies map at all, and I quite like that. It really makes me want some more America maps, which it sounds like in the next Zombies Gulf War, or I guess it's called Black Ops 6. There's going to be some sort of America map in Pennsylvania. Or at least that's what a lot of these zombie YouTubers seem to be thinking. So that would be really cool to see something like that make it into such a modern title. I am kind of excited for the next Zombies, although I'll be honest, I'm kind of holding my reserves. Call of Duty has, in general, let me down quite a lot over the past few years, and I'm not, at the moment, expecting a ton. I want to see some more gameplay. That's sort of where I'm at. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about the next COD, because I'm at the point where I'm really just not thinking much about it at all. But maybe that'll change after some gameplay, you never know. It could be good. I really hope it is, for sure. I mean, I'd love a good zombies game, but I'm just not betting on it yet. But as always, if you are enjoying this as much as me, consider leaving a like down below. It helps me out a ton, and of course, make sure you're subscribed so you can come back for more. But without further ado, let's continue. Heading on over to the other side of the map, we are immediately met with this ice cream shop and a zombie just barreling towards us.
Hey, hands off the left jacket.
Stop. Bad zombie. You know, this map really does have an interesting dog around variant. And oh my god, look at the mouths on these things. But anyways, I suppose we do have an ice cream shop to check out, so let's go ahead and hop on in here. See if we can serve some unwanted customers. Come on, not all at once now, not all at once. One at a time. Form a line, dude. Just get some manners. Yeah, leave. That's right. Behind the counter here, which I suppose is technically outside the map, there is some modeling and some gumballs that are very much so not ball-shaped. But the rest of the modeling, I suppose, you can see from inside the map, and it's pretty straightforward, to be honest. And another picture of Willard Wyler just staring at you. That is very satisfying. Now, as for the rest of this building, there really isn't a ton to see. Obviously, the Ghosts and Skulls machine is right here, but there is this safe here on the wall, which if we go outside the map, we can see is fully modeled. I'm not entirely sure, but my best guess is you do open this up at some point during the Easter egg and get something out of it. But it seems like ahead of time, there is nothing inside of here. But continuing on down the road here, we're met with some very radioactive material, and of course, the power station. As for this little radioactive zone, of course, it kills you slowly as you get inside of it, which with God mode on, don't really have to worry about this. But it is sort of annoying. So let's just fly up above it for a second and take a look at it. The modeling here, although you can easily see most of it from the map, is pretty cool, and seeing it from a different perspective is awesome. And there's this little drainage tunnel thing here at the back, which when you go to the back of it, of course the illusion is definitely broken. In fact, actually, just from the side, you can see what's going on here. These two pieces do not line up at all. And moreover, it seems like the game definitely assumes that you would die going through here, considering a lot of this stuff does not have any collision at all. You can just walk right on through these barrels and whatever this thing here is on the ground, which, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what this is. But moving on from that toxic waste pit, we make our way to the power station, which does have a little shack here, and if we hop on into it, the nice part about this is it is actually unique. I don't think this is anywhere else on the map. There's some modeling here, setting it apart with some chairs, a hammer here on the desk, and another one of these little Ghosts and Skulls shootables. Nice. It looks like zombies here just spawn around the corner and come hopping out the window. And if we hop on out of there, we can see that this is definitely not the case for a lot of these other shacks around the map, as this is exactly the same as another one we've seen before. So it is quite nice to finally see a unique window location in IW Zombies. I really wish there were more of these, and I certainly hope in new zombie maps in the future that this should be the norm. Repeating window locations is something that should not be happening, in my opinion, at least. I certainly don't mean to diminish the work that these developers do. I don't think it's easy at all. But repeated window locations like this, just really boring, man. And lastly for this area, let's go ahead and just hop on into some more liminal space, because we can. There is absolutely nothing going on inside of these rooms here, and you can see it's just a flat black texture for the floor. But again, still kind of cool and gives you a really strange look at the rest of the map. I love seeing smoke effects like that just floating on by their own. It's sort of mystical in a way. But it seems like that is pretty much it for this power station and toxic waste section of the map. So let's go ahead and hop on down the road here, take a little bit of walk. I want to see where's the collision cutoff. It's probably going to happen any second, any second. Here it comes. And there we go. Still, though, I feel like that was actually a lot farther than other sections of the map, so that's nice. The road just wraps up around and leads to absolutely nowhere. It looks actually straight into a mountain. But if we continue on further on into the map, up this pathway, we make it to what is, I believe, the back section of a grocery store. And of course, you're meant to go through this door right here, but since this is outside, let's go through this one instead. And it does actually lead inside the grocery store, sort of like you'd think it would. There's a lot of interesting modeling in this grocery store too. I actually quite like it, not gonna lie. Oh, and there's another one of these safes here, which this one actually does have something inside of it. So maybe that other one that's inside of that diner over there, you can't actually open, and it's just the same model as this one, so that's why it's fully modeled. Because this one, for sure, there's something inside of it. Can I pick this up? Cannot pick it up. Okay, so definitely have to open the safe in order to do that. Pretty dang cool, man. And we could take a look at some things up close and personal, like this calendar, which has like military stuff on it when we are most certainly not anywhere near a military base. There's a bong.
Yeah.
Not a bong. Not a bong at all. There's a freaking shark here, man. Oh. Oh, that's cool. I have a meat cleaver now. I did not find that in my playthrough. That's kind of awesome, actually. There's also a blueprint here for hypnosis device. Although I don't think I'm making that anytime soon. And that right there is the Fruit of the Loom cornucopia. Or at least it surely looks like it. And there's another one of these targets here, which, again, really makes me think you're supposed to shoot them all, but I have no idea. But heading on out the garage door here, we make it to the side of the building and realize that that garage door would not make any sense. But moreover, of course, we're outside the map. There is a lot of stuff going on in this little town section of the map, so let's just take it piece by piece. First of all, we have this gas station, which you can see inside of it, and I'm sure, as many people who have played this map know, it definitely seems like you can go inside of it, since that nuclear bomb that we saw outside the map is definitely here. And along with it, a little mathematical problem. We got a couple of series added together, subtracting theta and equaling explosion, boom, boom. And this is also where you add parts, such as those bongs that I found. This definitely seems like a really cool Easter egg. I have no idea exactly what the ending is. Well, actually, that's a lie. I got a pretty good idea what the ending might be. But I've never done it, I've never seen it, and I've never watched any of the steps, and it just seems sort of interesting to me, especially with there being a lot of mathematics, and my history in mathematics and physics definitely kind of makes me want to try and figure it out myself. Maybe I will one day, I don't know. But anyways, as far as the rest of this building, it does not have any modeling at all. It's an extremely dark room that doesn't even really seem to have a floor. It does have a door at the back, though, which leads out towards where you would expect, the back of the building. And another extremely creepy picture of Willard Wyler. Really makes me feel like there's some like little Easter egg you're supposed to do with these, but I don't know. I think I'm looking into stuff too much now. Next to this gas station is a little surf shop, I suppose. Specifically, the Beach Mart. Toys, boards, and snacks. If we hop on through the front door, we'll come to notice that there very much so is not an interior here, although this does have a little flooring though. So perhaps maybe at one point they were thinking about having some of this open and modeled, but we can see there are a couple of rooms that are modeled, one of them being here on the side, which just leads around the corner, little area for zombies to spawn out of sight and come to the window. And for this window location over here, the same thing kind of can be said, although I'm not sure if zombies spawn here, there is definitely an area for them to, with some things just clipping through the ceiling. And a door that leads to this extremely liminal area. And lastly, we have this little room, which is definitely not a window location. However, it is pretty cool, it is partially modeled, although it looks pretty much exactly the same as this little room over here. And because we can, let's hop on top of the rooftops, which do not have an extra barrier on top of them. It seems to only be around the perimeter of the building instead, which is sort of strange. I'm not sure why this is the case, why some buildings have a massive barrier on top of them and others seem to only have a barrier surrounding the outside. I guess it's sort of just developer's choice after all. But I suppose it's time. Let's go ahead and hop on past the toxic waste here, which is supposed to have killed you by now, before you hit an invisible barrier, I suppose. But it does seem that this invisible barrier definitely blocks you from continuing. So even if you did somehow survive, you wouldn't make it very far. But thankfully, I can just no-clip on past this invisible barrier and take a walk down the street and see some of these buildings that you don't get to see up close and personal, but for some reason add some of the best ambiance I've seen in IW Zombies so far. I think it's because I'm an American, right? And walking down the street with a bunch of very familiar feeling buildings, something about it just feels right to me. Now, I imagine most of these buildings do not have anything going on inside of the interior. It would make absolutely no sense that they would, but nonetheless, we're definitely going to check them all out. Here is Masons & Co. Definitely nothing in this one. I mean, actually, it quite literally doesn't even have a backside. On the other side of the street, we got Song's Clothers, which, again, yeah, definitely nothing inside of it, although this one does have a full modeled exterior, which, I mean, it sure better, considering it's facing the map. And next to that, we got a beach shop. Yeah, nothing inside of the beach shop, and we also have Judge's Jerky, a beef stew sale. Oh man, let me get some of that. Oh, there's a speed limit sign. There's a speed limit sign inside of the shop. Huh. Wow, I really thought I wasn't going to find anything inside of these buildings, but it looks like there's a little remnants of what used to be probably alongside the side of the road before some modeling changes and maybe the road was made a little bit smaller. Or maybe it's just stored here out of bounds and forgotten by some developer. But I found it, so what do you think about that, Infinity Ward? Speed limit signs being inside of buildings, you fools. Continuing on down the road, we got a barber shop, which again, definitely has nothing inside of it, but it does have a really weird looking ceiling. Look at that. And last but not least, we got a seaside bakery and Chen's Duck Palace, which, just like normal, definitely nothing in here. And for Duck's Palace, well, there's no ducks, or a palace, really. I mean, there's nothing here. Caution, hazardous area with rough conditions. Stay on path. Okay, I'll bite. Let's go up the path. Oh, yeah, collision cuts off pretty quick in this game, but we can head on up the road and find that it goes pretty far into the distance up around the corner into a big pit of nothingness. And it actually seems to lead very close to the same way that that other pathway would have led to. I'm not sure what's supposed to be over here in these mountains, but doesn't seem like we're going to get to know by looking at them. And last but not least, we have the beach, which obviously, by the nature of this beach, does not really have window locations in it at all. It does have a few little things to check out, perhaps like this little drain, although, you know, not the most interesting thing in the world. But I suppose the atmosphere on this area is enough on its own, and we can check out some areas of the beach that you can't normally get to, as they do have collision, and it wraps quite far outside the map. You don't fall through until, well, I guess until it just cuts off here at the end. And heading on over towards the other side of the beach, there's actually a pretty large little area here that's definitely unused, and looking at this back wall certainly feels like the player was never meant to be here. And interestingly enough, if we walk out into the water, we'll find that there is collision with a brush that's covering the entire bottom of the ocean, or at least a significant part of the ocean that allows us to walk all the way up to this big old monster out here. We can see that this radioactive creature seems to be walking back and forth and doing this. Eating parts of the boat and smashing into it, seeming to not make very much progress at all, actually. What's the lore behind this guy, man? I really don't know. Maybe there's something on this boat that he's attracted to, but we can get up inside of him and get a closer look at his innards, with the mouth really being the main part of him. And as far as the ship goes, there's nothing inside of it at all, but still really cool to be able to see it up close and personal. And far out into the distance, we see that the water cuts off, and on the other side is absolutely nothing. Some interesting things about this boat, though. If we go on underneath, we can see the propeller and the rudder as well. And you can also see, from inside the map probably as well, that this boat has most certainly taken some damage. And it seems like some makeshift repairs were made that don't seem to be holding up very well. In fact, not very well at all. And for the final thing to check out in this video, we have a little bit of a viewer request. Apparently, there's some sort of little shootable Easter egg way up there on top of a rock, which when you shoot it, you get some sort of calling card for the game. If I fly on up here, we can see what this thing is that we are shooting, and it looks like some sort of tube, which going on inside the rock, we can see there's nothing else to it other than the tube, so I'm not entirely sure what this is meant to represent. But I suppose from all the way inside the map, it's pretty hard to see anyway. It could be some sort of capsule, maybe, a time capsule of sorts, and inside of it would be some sort of writing, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to make lore up here for this thing, because it really doesn't look like there is any. But if we head back on down to the ground and try and take a shot at it... I got it. I've continued the journey, and that object has seemed to disappear. Yeah, I think it's gone forever. But that is it for me, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, consider leaving a like down below. It helps me out a ton, and of course, make sure you're subscribed so you can come back for more. Even though I've basically never played this map, it is a ton of fun to be able to explore things like this for me. I love seeing how developers put together a map like this, and this one in particular is quite attractive. There's something about it being set in like the 1950s California that just feels really cool. And I really enjoy some of the modeling, especially this street right here. It's definitely my favorite area of the map. So if you guys did enjoy it and you want to watch more of my content, you can click one of the videos on your screen right now. But if not, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay awesome and peace out.